7. Again we meet on my furtive landline. The nice thing about these is their separate power source. Those men in black can throw switches all night in Power Central, turning my house into a veritable disco. But I'll still be here to tell you the info you need to know. His name, Eduardo Zoido, age 16. Working young gave Eduardo money and experience, but it didn't cure his ability to misinterpret the fundamental nature of our world. Good and evil would clash before him, and he would face death due to his human myopia. Location, San Diego, California, USA. Date, February 2016. It began in his San Diego neighborhood, where employment opportunities for entry-level jobs abounded in 2016. Every chain store or restaurant was eager to get employees, and help wanted signs populated the sunny streets of Southern California. Eduardo Zoido was one of those that took the bait and signed on for a cutting bait, so to speak, in a very popular hardware supergiant. Nothing was difficult to grasp. The work was hard, but mindless for the teenager. Minimum wage was an eagerly welcomed compensation for a kid that never made any lucre in his short life. Now he could afford all those fabulous video games he desired. Games of fantasy and escapism so heady that Eduardo could float home from school on dreams of stupendous battles and wildly unrealistic romances wrapped in conflicts and cool designs. All thanks to his new job stocking the shelves in a Titanic depot. His family was proud of him. He was proud of himself. His community praised him. Life was good for a young high schooler in a place so prosperous and opportune. That was a short-lived moment, wholly because soon after he began working in the hardware store, Eduardo became keenly aware of shapes moving above him in the store's towering shelving where stock was kept, far above the heads of patrons and employees. In the darkness that crept through the recesses beyond reasonable lighting, what he tried to reason away as hallucinations would have none of Eduardo's rationalization. They were clearly visible with little effort, merely an eye to observe. Most everyone else saw nothing, because no one else was looking. Inventory and resupplying the shelves accessible by customers was Eduardo's main task. Thus, he was often the only person that ever looked up to the steel canopy above the entire operation. Up there, where no one ever wandered human silhouettes ducking behind boxes and crates, furtively scurrying about, trying to be unseen, and generally succeeding. After confronting managers with his surveillance of unintended visitors, Eduardo and others used forklifts to attempt discovery. It was possible that some pranksters were climbing the scaffolding and doing dangerous and daring do in the heady heights, or perhaps it was homeless people that snuck in to make the depot their home. Yet, after thorough examination, no one, nor any sign of intrusive entities, was found. However, day after day, Eduardo could still make out the elusive figures darting about occasionally. He merely kept quiet and ignored the sights others said didn't exist, until a huge box of heavy bench grinders sailed down from above Eduardo and slammed into the paved corridor mere inches in front of him, where his meandering would have taken him a split second later. The load would have instantly killed him. It was startling. After the store investigated, there could be found no reason for the accident. It was merely equivocated away by pretending it was a mishap of stocking procedure. Mayhap a forklift operator left the crate on the edge of the upper platform, despite better training to do so. A couple days after the initial incident, Eduardo was pacing the aisles and found a stunning sight to behold. A woman in flowing Victorian garb, pointing up to the rafters. She didn't notice Eduardo's approach, but he took heed of her outstretched digit to spy on high a demonic shadow entity slithering between the boxes of stock. The impish monster was a mere 3 feet high, but coal-black with red glowing eyes and bat's wings gently spreading and unspreading when room was available. Within seconds, it had pushed a mighty barrel of paint down 20 feet to smash onto the concrete below and flood everything with thick white liquid. Despite screams of warning to the odd woman in unconventional attire, she didn't move. Yet afterwards, she was nowhere to be seen. She was gone, vanished, translated. A ghost, Eduardo realized inwardly without letting anyone in on his grotesque vision. This woman was clearly a kind and guiding spirit, letting the befuddled lad know where evil was, and from whence it would strike. He thanked God and Jesus and all the saints. And lo! She did appear again soon thereafter, perhaps a week, pointing again into the mighty shelving. And there, amongst various boxes and crates, was once more a demonic midget, scurrying and hastening to push heavy items from the shelves to the floor. Onto the poor woman from another dimension. She would disappear under the cascade of hardware, leaving another mess to be tended. Store management and security were becoming impatient, believing someone was malfeasant in their duties. Someone must be allowing items to cruise floor-bound, possibly endangering lives, but certainly losing the store money and damaged goods. It was intolerable. They settled on one fact. Eduardo was always there, mere feet from these disasters. Yet there seemed no connection between him and the events, so he wasn't let go or reprimanded. Eduardo merely continued his duties week after week. He was still seeing the clandestine figures above, but never the woman in unworldly white. Until one fateful day, Eduardo rounded a corner into plumbing and saw the stunning lady once more in the aisle, looking aloft and desperately alerting the lad to some shenanigans transpiring above. Yes, another little gargoyle was perched to topple a water heater from on high. And then the woman noticed Eduardo's approach. He came close to her and smiled, seeing her face for the first time. It was pure beauty, a face so well sculpted and healthy, idyllic in all form and feature, that his heart leapt. Eyes bright and sentient with all of humanity's hopes, eyes like sapphire gemstones, and twice as brilliant in their incandescence. Before Eduardo could say something, give his thanks, and relate his gratitude, her face enraged. This incongruous visitant wrinkled her brow and widened her mouth to reveal sharp, serrated teeth and folds of skin so deep and rutted that she appeared to be tortured in her mind, and filled to top with maliciousness for the young man. "Yay!" she screamed at inhuman volume, the decibels shattering silence in the hardware depot. Eduardo backed up, as if from a pussycat transformed into a tiger. A water heater in a box slammed between the two figures on the floor, shattering and clattering. She pointed to the demon again, motioning to Eduardo with a sweep of her arm. "Destroy him!" The harpy shrieked aloud, and suddenly a dozen such creatures were throwing down thousands of pounds of hardware items, trying to obliterate young Eduardo. He ran! His path was soon cut off by a box of pipes hitting the floor in front of him. His only salvation was to hide under the shelving, amongst the sinks and toilets on display on the lowest level. Within seconds, he felt the shelves themselves upending. The woman was still down the corridor, pointing at the boy and calling for his painful demise, cursing him, commanding his termination from this mortal coil. Ungodly creaking and groaning was audible from far off in the depot. Voices were screaming in fear. The shelves far away collapsed over, toppling into the next. And the next. The entire store was a set of perilous dominoes. Enormous racks of endless tons of various items were slamming into each other en route to Eduardo's area. And soon the moment arrived when Eduardo's shelving unit was also toppled as he tried to remain safe. And the next and next toppled over, down into the lumber, where boards and timber flew like decks of cards and toothpicks. Eduardo's workplace was decimated with untold destruction. People were found through the night when rescue crews arrived. Dozens perished, crushed, suffocated. And amongst them, Eduardo Zoido, a young man chasing dreams of excitement and fantasy by working in retail to afford unreal entertainments available on video game consoles, only to discover the horror of life's true fantastic edge before the last glimmer of his very eyes. Game over.
Like and subscribe before I die! And ring the little bell or you will surely go to hell.
Oh, we're telling spooky stories. This is not a spooky story. Oh, there's no way on the couch I can
it
sit.
depends how you look at it. It is kind of spooky.
I guess so.
Wait, that's it? That's the end of the story?
That is a